Morning, parents and students. So I wanted to wait until the weekend to make this post to help everybody out until we got through some of the other announcements that were happening last week that were also really important. So in this video, we're going to briefly go over an example progress report and explain all the different elements and sort of what they mean. So on the progress report, we have our address up here because we're mailing them out. In the right-hand corner, you can check this should be your student's ID number. Down here, you're going to see your student's name and their address as well. Now, if any of this is incorrect, you can call the school and let us know, and we can make those changes. And that goes for any of the other information as well. So as a reminder, the progress reports were sent out on 2/19, which means grades may have changed since that point, which you can always see in Aries as well. But this is just to get a paper copy out to everybody who may not have access to Aries. Next, again, we have your student ID number, last name, first name, their middle name, gender, grade, and birth date. And again, you can check to make sure all this is correct. And if it's not, call the school and let us know. All right, so here is the students' grades for this progress report. So we have Wanda Maximoff's Algebra 1 class. They have an 84.18%, which goes to a B. Support and intervention classes do not get grades in the same way. These are non-graded courses. So just keep that in mind when you see the blank there. It doesn't mean that they're doing bad or they haven't done anything. Those are just non-graded courses that are in order to support their other classes. All right, so down here we have Spanish 1. We can see here that Spanish 1 happens third period, which would happen on odd days. We have the teacher's name. And then we have over here that the student got a 62.88%, which is a D. So that means that that student is currently not, quote unquote, passing at that C level or above, which is our target to keep students on track for college entrance as well as scholarship opportunities. This student also is an ELD student, so they have ELD 3, and we have their grade there as well. Here is their ELA or language arts grade, which they have during 5th period. Here's the teacher, and this is their current grade, and then we can keep going through. Now, you might notice down here this History B18 course is one of our early college classes. Any of the Bakersfield College course grades don't appear in the progress report. The easiest and fastest way to see the BC grades is you need to ask your student to pull up their BC grade books on the BC website and have them show you the grade. That is the fastest way to get the grade because they are BC students in the BC system. So just some things to keep in mind. As a reminder, any students that earn a D or F may have to retake the class, might even have to repeat full grade level course material depending on how many classes that they failed as well. So things to keep in mind. And then the other note down here are things I've already said about the intervention and support in BC classes, but these notes are here. Here you can find a legend for any marks that your student might have on the progress report. Just remember that we really need a C, B, or A to be in a great position moving forward. The next page is going to have their benchmark grades on it. And so again, we have our map, which we take in the fall and the winter. And so you can see how your student is doing with those. And so here we have a student who in math took it in fall. They got a 216, and they are in the 30th percentile for their score. Now, again, if you remember, and I'll link the other videos below, 30th percentile means they scored as well as or better than 30% of the students who took the test. Now, if you invert that, that means that 70% of students did better than this student in the fall. And so obviously that would be of concern given how the rest of the grade level is doing. But we took it again in the winter. We see an increase for this student. Their RIT score went up. And then the percentile here is at 41. So now we see an 11 point increase, which means now that this child is doing as good as or better than 41% of kids in the grade. So they are improving at a faster rate, which is awesome to see. We can look at the same thing for the reading. which is going to tell us that in the fall the student got a 200. And that means they did as well as or better than only 10% of the students that tested, which means 90% of that grade level did better. But look at this. In the winter, student retook it, got a 205, and now they're at that 41 percentile, which again means that they're doing as well as or better than 41% of students, which is a huge increase, which is why we don't often look at the RIT score too much rather than to see that it's still going up and improving. But RIT scores can change a lot by little points along the way. And we can also... I'm going to bring this up, which is going to be attached, and you can use this to see what grade level your student is at or should be on. So I can see going here that the student is in 224 is a RIT score for the winter for math. So I'm going to go to math. Here's math, and I'm going to find 224. So right here I have 224. So this student is somewhere between winter of 7th grade and fall of 8th grade, which means the student is behind, but only slightly in their math. And what's interesting too is if you go to fall of their 9th grade year, looking at the mean average, we're looking at 226.43. So the student's not that far off from average for the 9th grade year. They're in a pretty good spot. I mean, obviously higher is always better, but it's a great spot to be in. So now we're going to go to reading, and we see that they were at a 205 in winter. So now I'm going to look for the 205 on the reading side. So here's reading, and I'm going to start looking for that 205, 204, 209, and right here looking at about a 5th grade level for the reading score as well. So this student, because they're in 9th grade, is obviously much lower and needs to be having a higher score across the board for theirs. So you can use this to help you understand different grade levels across the board. The next thing we're going to talk about is the ANET score report. And so this is our other benchmark assessment that we take after a certain amount of teaching has happened. Of note, 12th grade students do not take the ANET. So this is just our 9th through 11th grade student. So if we're looking, you can see fall and winter again for both math and reading. You can see what they got. Correct. So how correct were they on it? So this student only had 12% of all questions correct, but the national average for all schools who took this test was a 31%, which means they were 19% below where everyone else is in the nation. If we go to the winter, the student is now at 22% correct. National average was 32%. So the student did improve, but is still currently 10% below the national average. Then for the reading, same thing. We can look in the fall. Student got a 42%, which is pretty good. National average was at a 44. Student was only 2% below the national average. But if we skip ahead to winter, now the student only got 21%. The national average was 49%. So the student was now 27% below. And you can use the other videos that I'm going to link here about how to look at the MAP and NWEA performance to help you better inform yourself as a parent and working with your child. Okay, that's going to wrap up right now. I hope this benefited everybody and you better understand the report and what the numbers mean in the report.